ॐ शुक्लाम्भरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये। ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करभावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। अगजानन पद्मार्कं गजाननमहर्निशम् अनेकदन्तं भक्तानाम् एकदन्तमुपास्महे। श्रीमहागणपतये नमः। गुरवे सर्वलोकानां विषजे भवरोगिणां निधये सर्वविद्यानां श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। अस्मद्गुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। ज्ञानानन्दमयं देवं निर्मलस्फटिकाकृतिम् आधारं सर्वविद्यानां श्रीहयग्रीवमुपास्महे। श्रीहयग्रीवमूर्तये नमः। सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणि विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा। श्रीमहासरस्वत्यै नमः। उमाकोमलहस्ताब्जसम्भावितललाटकं हिरण्यकुण्डलं वन्दे कुमारं पुष्करस्रजं। வெற்றிவேல் முருகனுக்கு ஹர ஹரோஹரா. லோகவீரியம் மகாபூஜ்யம் சர்வரக்ஷாகரம் விபும் பார்வதி ஹிருதயானந்தம் சாஸ்தாரம் பிரணமாம்யகம். சுவாமியே சரணமையப்பா. வாகர்த்தாவிவ சம்பிரக்தௌ வாகர்த்த பிரதிபத்தயே ஜகதः பிதரौ வந்தே பார்வதி பரமேஸ்வரौ. ஸ்ரீ பார்வதி பரமேஸ்வராभ्यां நமः. कोमलं कूजयन् वेणुं श्यामलोऽयं कुमारकः वेदवेद्यं परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। अस्मद्गुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। पीताम्बरं करविराजितचक्रशङ्खकौमोदकी सरसिजं करुणासमुद्रं राधासहायम् अतिसुन्दरमन्दहासं वातालयेशम् अनिशं हृदि भावयामि। कृष्णो रक्षतु मां चराचरगुरुः कृष्णं नमस्ये सदा। कृष्णेनैव सुरक्षितोऽहमसकृते कृष्णाय दत्तं मनः। कृष्णादेव समुद्भवो मम विभो कृष्णस्य दासोऽस्म्यहं। कृष्णे भक्तिरचञ्चलास्तु भगवन् हे कृष्ण तुभ्यं नमः। श्रीगुरुवायूरप्पा शरणं नम्राणां सन्निधत्ते सततमपि पुरस्तैरणभ्यर्थितानपि आर्तान् कामानजस्रं वितरति परमानन्दसान्द्रां गतिं च। इत्थं निःशेषलभ्यो निरवधिकफलः पारिजातो हरे त्वं क्षुद्रं तं शक्रवाटी ध्रुममभिलषति व्यर्थमर्त्यव्रजोऽयं। श्रीगुरुवायूरप्पा शरणं श्रीभट्टपादम् अनिशं हृदि भावयामि। वंशीविभूषितकरात् नवनीरदाभात् पीताम्बरात् अरुणबिम्बफलात् रोष्टात् पूर्णेन्दुसुन्दरमुखात् अरविन्दनेत्रात् कृष्णात् परं किमपि तत्त्वमहं न जाने। കൈരണ്ടും കൂപ്പി ഞാൻ വീണ്ടുമീറക്കുന്നു നീരജലോചന നിന്നോടായി. ഏതീനു മന്യനെ കുമ്പീടേണ്ട തോറു രീതിയിൽ നീ എന്നെ പാലിക്കുന്നായി. കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ. Good morning everyone, welcome to the class. Let's see if Viji from Michigan, are you on? No. Okay. Usha Garu, can you say 22? I don't know if Usha is also on.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
I can do Rajesh.
Okay, go ahead, Usha Garu.
अजामिलो नाम महिषुरपुराः चरन् विभो धर्मपथान् गृहाश्रमी गुरोर्गिरा काननमेत्य दृष्टवान् सदृष्टशीलां कुलटां मदाकुलां
Sudrishta.
సుదృష్టశీలాం కులటాం మదాకులాం. సారీ, నాకు ట్యూన్ రావట్లేదండి. లాస్ట్ క్లాస్ ఐ మిస్డ్. స్వతః ప్రశాంతోపి తదా హృతాశయః స్వధర్మమృత్సృజ్య తయా సమారమన్ అధర్మకారీ దశమీ భవన్ పునః దతౌ భవన్నామయుతే సుతే రతిం సమృత్యుకాలే యమరాజకింకరాన్ భయంకరాం స్త్రీనభిలక్షయన్ ధియా పురా మనాక్వస్రముతి త్వస్మృతి పురా త్వస్మృతి వాసనా బలాః బలాత్. ఓకే, ఐ మిస్సింగ్ దోస్ టూ, సారీ. శివాసనా బలాద్ జుహ్వాహ నారాయణ నామకం సుతం దురాశయస్యాపి తద్వాత్వనిర్గతః దురాశయస్యాపి తద్వా నిర్గత త్వదీయా నామాక్షరమాత్ర వైభవాత్ పురోభిపేతుర్భవదీయ పార్షదా చతుర్భుజాః పీతపటా మనోరమాః.
No, the third line and there is a visarga. Fourth line there is no visarga. I mean, both lines, parshadaha and then manoramaha. So even in the third line, right? I think you missed that.
Yeah.
Okay. Keep going. Yeah.
పురోభిపేతుర్భవదీయ పార్షదాః చతుర్భుజాః పీతపాటమనోరమాః అముంచ సంపాశ్య వికర్షతో భటాన్ విముంచతేత్యారురుద్ధర్పలాదమి నివారితాస్తే చ భవజ్జనైస్తదా తదీయ పాపం నిఖిలం న్యవేదయన్ భవంతు పాపాని కథంతు నిష్కృతే కృతేపి భోదండనమస్తి పండితాః న నిష్కృతిః కిం విదితా భవాదృశామితి ప్రభో త్వత్పురుషా భపాశిరే.
At the end of the third line, Shankar, there is a comma. Okay, after bhava drisham there is a pause. Okay.
Oh, pause. Okay, continuation kada akkada.
Yeah, there is a pause. There is no continuation. You stop at the end of that bhava drisham.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks. न निष्कृतिः किं विदिता भवादृशा मिति प्रभो त्वत्पुरुषा भपाशिरे श्रुतिस्मृतिभ्यां विहितव्रतादयः पुनन्ति पापं न लुनन्ति वासनाम् अनन्तसेवा तु निकृन्तति त्वयि मिति प्रभो त्वत्पुरुषा भपाशिरे.
Usha Garu, sorry, at the end of the third line, right, it becomes a im there, right? So dvayim, similarly bhava drisham, and then there is a comma, and then iti prabho.
That miti becomes iti, right?
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, ananta seva tu nikrutanti tvayan iti prabho tvatpurusha bhapashire anena bhojanma sahasra kotibhihi कृतेषु पापेष्वपि निष्कृतिः कृता यदग्रहीन्नाम भयाकुलो हरेः ऋति प्रभो त्वत्पुरुषा भपाशिरे.
Not riti, iti. Last.
Oh, this is also iti. Iti prabho त्वत्पुरुषा भपाशिरे नृणामबध्यापि मुकुन्द कीर्तनम् दहत्यघौघान् महीमाहस्य तादृशः यदाग्निरेधांसि यथौषधं गदा नीति प्रभो त्वत्पुरुषा भपाशिरे.
The third line, gadan, in sound.
Yes. Gadan iti prabho त्वत्पुरुषा भपाशिरे iti रित्यैर्याम्यभटैर्यापाश्रुते भवद्भाटानां च गणे तिरोहिते भवस्मृतिं कञ्चन कालमाचरन् भवत्पदं प्रापि भवद्भयतरसौ
भटैरसौ
भटैरसौ स्वकिङ्किरावेदनशङ्कितो यमस्त्वदं द्विभक्तेषु न गम्यतामिति अशिशिक्षदुच्चकैः सदेव वातालयानाथ पाहि माम्.
Very good. Now, just the first line end, there is a visarga. Okay, Yamaha. First line end.
Oh, first line. Okay.
Okay, very good.
Thank you, Register.
Okay, so we'll start with 24 today. So Padma Garu, you can be a student, and Ram, you can be a student. Okay, for the first half. So like we said, the 24, 25 are related chapters, right? So it's Narasimha Avataram is happening on 24 and 25. So 24 is Prahlada Charita Varnanam. So it's about the story of Prahlada. That's what is happening in the 24th Dasakam. And 25th Dasakam is the Narasimha Avataram. So this one, at least Narayana, up to the first 25 chapters, the 25th chapter is the hardest chapter. 24 is little okay. 25 is going to be definitely hard. So kind of you can get your mind ready for it. But that's okay if you find it hard. But I can tell you, once you do the other chapters, in 25 becomes easier. So that's why I said for the first 25, 25 is harder, right? Anyway, so first stanza. So this is the tune of the four-liner. The four-liner tune is what continues in both the dashakams. So Hiranyakshe potri pravara vapusha deva bhavata हते शोकक्रोधग्लपितधृतिरेतस्य सहजः हिरण्यप्रारम्भः कशिपुः अमरहारातिसदसि प्रतिज्ञामातेने तव किल वधार्थं मधुरिपो. So we saw in the 12th Varaha Avataram about Hiranyaksha, right? And then I think I might have said the story about Jaya and Vijaya and how they became Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu, right? So the 13th chapter is a Hiranyaksha Vadam that is happening at the end of the Varaha Avataram. So because now his brother Hiranyaksha has been killed by Vishnu, so he has his other brother called Hiranyakashipu. So this Hiranyakashipu, right? So he definitely wanted to make sure that he was able to rule over all the worlds. So what he does is he then goes on this, because the Lord got rid of his brother, he wanted to take revenge. So what he does is he then goes and then he swears in the assembly of the lords that he is going to now get rid of Vishnu, who is responsible for his brother's death. So he takes a vow that his vow is to get rid of this Narayana or Vishnu who got rid of Hiranyaksha. So Hiranyakshe potri pravara vapusha deva bhavata, comma, hate, and then you put a comma after hate, shoka krodha dhlapita dhritiretasya. So he's, he's shoka, he's sad, he's also at the same time, he's feeling also angry as well. So shoka krodha dhlapita dhritiretasya sahajaha. हिरण्याक्षे पोत्रिप्रवरवपुषा देव भवता हते शोकक्रोधग्लपितधृतिरेतस्य सहजः.
हिरण्याक्षे प्रोतिप्रवरवपुषा देव भवता हते शोकक्रोधग्लपितधृतिरेतस्य सहजः. हिरण्याक्षे प्रोतिप्रवरवपुषा देव भवता हते शोकक्रोधग्लपितधृतिरेतस्य सहजः.
हिरण्याक्षे पुत्रिप्रवरवपुषा देव भवता हते शोकक्रोधग्लपितधृतिरेतस्य सहजः. हिरण्याक्षे पुत्रिप्रवरवपुषा देव भवता हते शोकक्रोधग्लपितधृतिरेतस्य सहजः.
Hiranya prarambaha, is there, put a ich sound, prarambah. Kashipuhu, so the ra that you have there, remove it, put a visarga and a comma. Kashipuhu, comma. The next word starts with a a. Amararati sadasi, comma. Pratignyam atene, comma. Tava kila vadhartam maduripo. Hiranya prarambah kashipuhu amarharati sadasi प्रतिज्ञामातेने तव किल वदार्थं मधुरिपो
हिरण्यप्रारम्भः कशिपुः रमराराति सदसि प्रतिज्ञामातेने तव किल वधार्थं मधुरिपो.
Padma Garu, that first, the third line, that Prarambaha, you put the H sound to join. Prarambah Kashipuhu. And then when you say Kashipuhu, the next word becomes Amararati Sadasi, not Ramara. Okay.
हिरण्यप्रारम्भः कशिपुः अमराराति सदसि प्रतिज्ञामातेने तव किल वधार्थं मधुरिपो.
हिरण्यप्रारम्भः कशिपुः अमराराति सदसि प्रतिज्ञामातेन तव किल वधार्थं मधुरिपो. हिरण्यप्रारम्भः कशिपुः अमराराति सदसि प्रतिज्ञामातेन तव किल वधार्थं मधुरिपो.
Pratignyam Atene, fourth line, first word. Answer to विधातारं घोरं सखलु तपसि त्वानचिरतः पुरः साक्षात् कुर्वन् सुरनरमृगाधीरनिधनं वरं लब्ध्वा दृप्तो जगदिगभवन्नायकमिदं परिक्षुन्दन्निन्द्रातहरत दिवं त्वाम् अगणयन्. So this Hiranyakashipu, he decides that he doesn't want to be controlled by age. He doesn't want to be controlled by him dying and any of that stuff. So he also wants to attain the Ashtasiddhis and everything. So he goes on this intense penance, austerities, right, where he goes to the point where he's standing on his toes, and then he has his hands pointed upwards and his face is pointing upwards, and then he does this kind of intense penance which nobody has ever seen, to the extent that his entire body is actually covered by ant and ant hills, and the ants end up eating all his flesh. So his entire body is rotten, and then he does this penance for hundreds and thousands of years. He goes on this intense penance, and to the extent that what was happening was there is kind of fire or heat radiating from the top of his head, which was actually burning all the world. So it was that intense penance that he does. So when that happens, everybody of course rushes to Brahma and says, you have to come and figure out what Hiranyakashipu wants. So when Brahma comes and asks in front of him, Hiranyakashipu, of course, the first thing he says is, I want immortality. So Brahma says, okay, I cannot give you immortality, but you can put conditions, right? So then he goes on to put conditions, which of course some of you may be already aware of it. He goes on to say, number one, I should not be killed by anybody who's created by you. Number one. Then I should not be killed indoors. I should not be killed outdoors. I should not be killed during the day. I should not be killed during the night. I should not be killed by any weapons which are created by humans or gods. And then I should neither be killed in the earth, nor should I be killed on the air, neither men nor humans nor animals. And then he goes on to put all this entire list of things that he's given, right? So he says his whole goal is he wants to rule over all the planets. So when he says this, and Brahma is just so impressed by the penance that he's done, that he says, okay, you know what, you'll get all the boons that you're asking for. So what this Hiranyakashipu then does is he then goes on, and then he goes on to take over all the worlds. So he's really not residing on quote unquote earth in that terms, right? So he goes on and takes over all the worlds, and he also goes and takes the heavenly planets from Indra, right? So even Indra ends up losing all of the things that he has. So that's what has happened up to 2. So vidatharam, comma, ghoram sa khalu tapasitva nachirataha, comma, puraha, put is puras sakshat kurvan, comma, sura nara mrigadhyir anidhana. If you want to break it, you can break it at the ra, or you can say it together. If you're breaking it, it becomes mrigadhyir anidhanam, or you say it continuously as well. Vidhatharam ghoram sakhalu tapasitva nachiratah puras sakshat kurvan suranara mrigadhyir anidhanam.
विधातारं घोरं सकलु तपसित्वा नचिरतः पुरः साक्षात् कुर्वन् सुरनरमृगाध्यैर्यनिधनं विधारं घोरं सकलु विधातारं घोरं सकलु तपसित्वा न चिरतः पुरः साक्षात् कुर्वन् सुरनरमृगाध्यैर्यनिधनम्
विधातारं घोरं स खलु तपसित्वा न चिरतः पुरः साक्षात् कुर्वन् सुरनरमृगाध्यैरनिधनम् विधातारं घोरं स खलु तपसित्वा न चिरतः पुरः साक्षात् कुर्वन् सुरनरमृगाध्यैरनिधनम्
Varam labdva dripto, comma, jagadiha bhavan nayakamidam, comma, parikshundan indrat. So that word, that before the harata, daharata you have, right? So it's easy to break that da into a it and a. Then you can kind of break it at that point. So parikshundan nindrat aharata divam. Then it will land easily. After divam, put a comma. Tvam aganayan. Varam labdva dripto jagadiha bhavannayakamidham parikshundan nindrat aharata divam tvam aganayan.
वरं लब्ध्वा दृप्तो जगदिह भवन्नायकमिदं परिक्षुन्द्रनिन्द्राद् అహరత దివం త్వామగణయన్ అంతేనండి కరెక్ట్
Yep.
వరం లబ్ధ్వా దృప్తో జగదిహ భవన్నాయకమిదం పరిక్షుంద్రన్నింద్రాద్ అహరత దివం త్వామగణయన్
वरं लब्ध्वा दृप्तो जगदिह भवन्नायकमिदं परिक्षुन्दन्निन्द्रात् अहरत दिवं त्वामगणयन् वरं लब्ध्वा दृप्तो जगदिह भवन्नायकमिदं परिक्षुन्दन्निन्दात् अहरत दिवं त्वामगणयन्
Ansatri. Nihantum tvam bhuyah तव पदमवाप्तस्य च रिपोः बहिर्दृष्टेरन्तर्धदितहृदये सूक्ष्मवपुषा नदन्नुच्चैः तत्राप्यखिलभुवनान्ते च मृगयन् भियायातं मत्वा स खलु जितकाशी निबवृते. So this Hiranyakashipu, once he's taken over all the, we said all the worlds, right? All the different planetary regions, and then he's ruling from the heavens right now. So his one area which he has not yet handled or taken over is Vaikuntham. So he goes looking for a lot. He says, okay, there's one more area which I haven't captured. So there when he goes, so he doesn't find the Lord. So because here Bhattipat says that what you end up doing is you cannot see the Lord physically. You can only see it through your mind. Right, so here what the Lord ends up doing is he goes in Sukshma Vapusha, in a very subtle form. You then enter into Hiranyakashipu's mind. So Hiranyakashipu is not able to physically locate you anywhere. So he's going around looking and he doesn't see anything. When he doesn't find you, and when he doesn't find you, he comes back happily saying, you know what, I think Narayana or Vishnu has run away. So I am the king of all the worlds now. So he comes back happy. So at this time, all the other gods go to Narayana and say that you have to come and intervene because this person is pretty much, running havoc all over the world. So at that time, Narayana promises saying that the appropriate time is going to come. Pretty soon, he's going to have one of my devotee. He's going to be born to Hiranyakashipu. And when that devotee calls me, right, then I will come. Right? That's what. So I was in a recent one Saptaham, and one person was telling the story of some different story. But the context they said was, there are so many Hiranyakashipus in this world right now. So why isn't the Lord coming as Narasimha? Right? And the answer was, none of us are Prahlada to call. Right? And we'll see why that is. Right? So I think that is the thing. Right? So there are a lot of Hiranyakashipus are there, but there are no Prahladas right now. That is the problem right now. Anyway, so he says, when the Prahlada, my devotee, is going to be there and he is going to call me, I will take birth. I will incarnate at that time, right? To get rid of Hiranyakashipu. So nihantum tvam bhuyaha. So that is there. Remove it, put a visarga and comma. Tava padama vaptasya cha ripoho. Put a visarga at the end of that line as well and comma. Next line on top of that ba, you will have a C, ir. You can remove that off. Then bahir drishter antar dhadita. If you want to break it, you can break at that ra. So it's easy. Bahir drishter antar dhadita hridaye sukshma vapusha. So that line is continuous, no pause. Nihantum tvam bhuyah tava padamavaptasya cha ripoho bahirdrishterantardharita hridaye sukshma vapusha.
निहन्तुं त्वां भूयः तव पदमवाप्तस्य तव पदमाप्तस्य च रिपोः
Dhadita. Drishter antar.
बहिर्दृष्टेर्दन्तथित हृदये स्मूक्ष्मवपुषा.
So no, Padma, let me fix that, right? So I'm just going to break it right into 4 parts. So bahir, drishter, antar, dhadita.
Okay, ददित. निहन्तुं त्वां भूयः तव पदमवाप्तस्य च रिपोः बहिर्दृष्टेरन्तर्दधित हृदये सूक्ष्मवपुषा.
Yeah.
निहन्तुं त्वां भूयः तव पदमवाप्तस्य च रिपोः बहिर्दृष्टेरन्तर्दधितहृदये सूक्ष्मवपुषा. निहन्तुं त्वां भूयः तव पदमवाप्तस्य च रिपोः बहिर्दृष्टेरन्तर्दधितहृदये सूक्ष्मवपुषा.
Nadan nuchaihi. So that is there. Remove it, put a visarga and a comma. Nadan nuchaihi. Tatrapya kila bhuvanante cha mrigayen, comma. Bhiya yatam matva, comma. Sa khalu jitakashi nivavrite. Nadannuchaihi tatrapyakila bhuvanante cha mrigayen bhiya yatam matva sakhalu jitakashi nivavrite.
नुदन्नुच्चैः
Yuchaihi. Yeah.
नुदन्नुच्चैः तत्राप्यखिल भुवनान्ते च मृगयन् भिया यातं मत्वा सखलु जितकाशी निववृते.
The third line,
Nudan.
Padmagaru, Nadan. I think you said Nudan. Nadan nuchaihi.
Okay. नदन्नुच्चैः तत्राप्याखिल भुवनान्ते च मृगयन् भिया यातं मत्वा सकलु जितकाशी निववृते.
नदन्नुच्चैः तत्राप्यखिलभुवनान्ते च मृगयन् भिया यातं मत्वा स खलु जितकाशी निववृते. नदन्नुच्चैः तत्राप्यखिलभुवनान्ते च मृगयन् भिया यातं मत्वा स खलु जितकाशी निववृते.
Stanza 4. ततोऽस्य प्रह्लादः समजनिसुतो गर्भवसतौ मुनेर्वीणापाणेः अधिगतभवद्भक्तिमहिमा स वै जात्या दैत्यः शिशुरपि समेत्य त्वयि रतिं गतस्त्वद्भक्तानां वरद परमोदाहरणताम्. So after some point, Hiranyakashipu gets 4 children who are born. And one of them we're going to, his name is Kalanemi. We're going to see about that Kalanemi later. But anyway, one of the child's name is Prahlada is the born. So this Prahlada, although he was born in the clan of Asuras, like it says Savai Jatya Daityaha, he's born in the clan of Asuras. However, he had such intense devotion to you right from the beginning, right? And it's not because something that he took birth and he got the devotion, right? He was already a blessed soul, because to have been already born and at a very young age, although he was very small, Shishurapi, he still had the complete knowledge of everything. And the reason for that also was when Hiranyakashipu had left to go do the penance, at one point Indra comes, and then Indra comes and takes over the kingdoms, right, of Hiranyakashipu. Indra takes over the regions, and then he abducts Hiranyakashipu's wife Kayadu. He takes her, and then he wants to go get rid of her. So at that time, Narada intersects and stops, and then he says, "It's a bad thing you're doing. You're abducting somebody else's wife to get rid." He says, "That's because in the womb of this Kayadu is Hiranyakashipu's seed, and I want to get rid of this child before it is born, because it's going to further, make things worse for us, right? So at the time, Narada says, you're mistaken. The biggest devotee of the Lord is right now in her womb. So you need to have that child take birth, right? So he then prevents Indra from getting rid of her, and then Narada takes this Kayadu to his hermitage, and then he teaches Kayadu all the knowledge, everything that needs to be known. But what happens is, because she then carries, and then she delivers, and then everything happens, she ends up missing and forgetting and not following it. However, the baby in the womb has already heard all of this knowledge. So it's just like what happened to Abhimanyu when he's born. He already knew the Chakravyuha. Similarly, this Prahlada, when he's born with the knowledge of everything that needs to be known. So right from the beginning, he understood what the supreme reality is. So he had very good control over his senses and mind and all of that stuff. And he was also one of the biggest of your devotees. Even Bhattaripad says here, so he became the example of your topmost of devotees by the time, later. But even when he was born with that knowledge as well. So tatosya prahladaha, comma, samajani suto garbha vasatau, comma, muner veena panehe. So the ra that is there, you're going to remove it, put a visarga and a comma. Veena panehe, comma. Next word starts with the a. Adhigata bhavat bhakti mahima. ततोस्य प्रह्लादः समजनिसुतो गर्भवसतौ मुनेर्वीणापाणेः अधिगतभवद्भक्तिमहिमा.
ततोऽस्य प्रह्लादः समजनिसुतो गर्भवसतौ मुनेर्वीणापाणेः अधिगतभवद्भक्तिमहिमा. ततोऽस्य प्रह्लादः समजनिसुतो गर्भवसतौ मुनेर्वीणापाणेः अधिगतभवद्भक्तिमहिमा.
ततोऽस्य प्रह्लादः समजनिसुतो गर्भवसतौ मुनेर्वीणापानेः अधिगतभवद्भक्तिमहिमा. ततोऽस्य प्रह्लादः समजनिसुतो गर्भवसतौ मुनेर्वीणापानेः अधिगतभवभक्तिमहिमा.
Savai jatya daityaha, comma, Shishurapi, another comma, just for emphasis, that is, although he was a child, and then a comma, right? So similarly, Shishurapi, comma, Sametya Twai Ratim, comma, Gatas Tvat Bhaktanam, comma, Bharada Paramodaharanatam. So remember the word Udaharanam, example, right? That's why it is. Parama Udaharanam is the greatest of example. So Paramodaharanatam. Savai Jatya Daityah Shishurapi समेत्य त्वयि रतिं गतस्त्वद्भक्तानां वरद परमोदाहरणताम्.
स वै जात्या दैत्यः शिशुरपि समेत्य त्वयि रतिं गतस्त्वद्भक्तानां वरद परमोदाहरणताम्. परमोदाहरणताम्. स वै जात्या दैत्यः शिशुरपि समेत्य त्वयि रतिं गतस्त्वद्भक्तानां वरद परमोदाहरणताम्.
Yeah, I think you were saying haranatam, you were trying to say. Just haranatam. Paramodaharanatam.
परमोदाहरणताम्.
Yeah.
स वै जात्या दैत्यः शिशुरपि समेत्य त्वयि रतिं गतस्त्वद्भक्तानां वरद परमोदाहरणताम्. स वै जात्या दैत्यः शिशुरपि समेत्य त्वयि रतिं गतस्त्वद्भक्तानां वरद परमोदाहरणताम्.
Stanza 5. Surarinam hasyam tava charanadhasyam nijasute sadrishtva dushtatma ghurubirashishikshachchiramamum guru proktam chaso idamidam abadhraya dhridametyapa kurvan sarvam tava charana bhaktiyaiva vavridhe. So, as a father who wants to project himself as the most fearful person in the entire universe, If his own child doesn't listen to him, that becomes a big ridicule for him. So that's what was happening, right? So Hiranyakashipu is projecting this image that he is the ruler of all the worlds. But then his own child is coming and saying, you know what, I'm not going to listen to you, right? He says, I do not believe in friends. I do not believe in enemies. I know everybody is the same. Everybody is the same soul. So when he starts talking about this, essentially people start ridiculing Hiranyakashipu, saying, you first have to get your son under control. You first has to have him listen to you, right? He himself is not listening to you. So when he starts ridiculing, so what he does is the Shukracharya is the guru of all the asuras. So he had two children who then were educating all the other asuras as well. So Hiranyakashipu decides that Prahlada has to go and learn from them. He has to learn all the rules, not only the rules of governing and everything, but also ruling that there is no God and Hiranyakashipu is the God. So, however, when Prahlada goes there, he completely rejects everything that he is to learn there. He kind of, he doesn't absorb that, right? He continues to believe that that Vishnu is the greatest, is the supreme Lord, and everybody else is not relevant according to Prahlada. So, Tava Charana, he continues to be devoted to your feet alone. Surarinam hasyam, comma, Tava Charana dasyam nijasute, comma, sa drishtva dushtatma, comma. The next word, I remember I told you that Ashishikshach is going to come. That means teaching. So this word, we'll try to break it into three parts here. Gurubhir Ashishikshach Chiramamum. Okay, those are the three parts you can break it into. Gurubhir Ashishikshach Chiramamum. Surarinham hasyam tava charanadasyam nijasute sadrishtva dushtatma gurubhirashishikshach chiramamum.
सुरारीणां हास्यं तव चरणधास्यं निजसुते सदृष्ट्वा दुष्टात्मा गुरुभिरसिशिक्षश्चिररमम्
Chiramamum.
चिरममुम् सुरारीणां हास्यं तव चरणधास्यं निजसुते सदृष्ट्वा दुष्टात्मा गुरुभिरसिशिक्षश्चिरममुम्
सुरारीणां हास्यं तव चरणदास्यं निजसुते सदृष्ट्वा दुष्टात्मा गुरुभिरशिशिक्षच्चिररमुम् चिरममुम् सुरारीणां हास्यं तव चरणदास्यं निजसुते सदृष्ट्वा दुष्टात्मा गुरुभिरशिशिक्षच्चिरममुम्
Guru Proktam Chasau. So here that V, you'll have a V as in Victor. That V that is there, you're going to remove it and first make it Chasau and then comma. The next word starts with the E. Okay. So idam abhadraya. So idam abhadraya. So the V that is there, Chasau, comma. In next word starts with the E. Idam abhadraya. Then you put a plus at the end of the third line. So you say it together. Dhridamit yapakurvan sarvam. Okay, so that whole word line goes together. Dhridamit yapakurvan sarvam, comma, tava charana bhaktiyaiva vavridhe. Guru proktam chasau idamidam abhadraya dhridamit yapakurvan sarvam. Tava charana bhaktiyaiva vavridhe.
गुरु प्रोक्तं चासौ इदमिदम् अभद्राय दृढमित् अपाकुर्वन् सर्वं तव चरणभक्त्यैव ववृधे गुरु प्रोक्तं चासौ इदमिदम् अभद्राय दृढमित् अपाकुर्वन् सर्वं तव चरणभक्त्यैव ववृधे
गुरु प्रोक्तं चासौ इदमिदमभद्राय दृढमित्यपाकुर्वन् सर्वं तव चरणभक्त्यैव ववृधे गुरु प्रोक्तं चासौ इदमिदमभद्राय दृढमित्यपाकुर्वन् सर्वं तव चरणभक्त्यैव ववृधे.
Stanza 6. Adhiteshu sreshtham kimiti pariprishthe tatanaye bhavadbhaktim varyam abhihatati पर्याकुलधृतिः गुरुभ्यो रोषित्वा सहजमतिरस्येत्यभिविदन् वधोपायानस्मिन् व्यतनुत भवत्पादशरणे. So, like any other father, because now this Prahlada is going to school, right? So Hiranyakashipu one day now takes Prahlada on his lap and then says, "Okay, you've been going to school all these days. Tell me, what have you learned? What is the important lesson that you have actually learned?" So Prahlada then goes on, like, and Prahlada, remember, he's 5 years old at this point, right? So he goes on this speech about how, what this body is temporary, all these material desires are something that we should shun away from, we should not get attached to this thing. And then he talks about how, at one point he's advising Hiranyakashipu, saying you have reached a stage in your life where you should actually take vanaprastham, you should give up everything you have, and you should go to the forest, you should meditate upon the Lord, and that is the only way for you. So when Hiranyakashipu hears this, he gets even more frustrated, right? And then he calls on the teacher, Shukracharya's son, who are the Prahlada's teachers, and says, "What have you guys thought? This boy is coming and giving me advice, and he's refusing to listen to anything." So they say, "You know what? We've tried our best." He says, inherently, this boy is born with this information. He says, this is something not that we are teaching him, right? We are teaching him exactly what he's supposed to learn, but he inherently has this knowledge. And plus, he's only 5 years old, so he's not going to know anything. So don't take him seriously, but ignore whatever he's saying. But there's nothing we can do to fix him. So when this happens, Hiranyakashipu decides, "You know what? I think it's time for me to get rid of him because this person is also influencing others." So he then decides to vadophayan, to create ways of killing you, right? Or killing Prahlada, who Bhavat Pada Sharane, who was always devoted to your feet and not to anything else. So adhiteshu sreshtham kimiti, comma, pariprishteta tanaye, comma, Bhavat Bhaktim Varyam Abhigatati. You can break it that ma if you want. Varyam Abhigatati, comma, Paryakula Dhritihi. अधीतेषु श्रेष्ठं किमिति परिपृष्टे ततनये भवद्भक्तिं वर्यामभिहतति पर्याकुलधृतिः.
अधीतेषु श्रेष्ठं किमिति परिपृष्ठे ततनये भवद्भक्तिं वर्याम् अभिगदति पर्याकुलधृतिः. अधीतेषु श्रेष्ठं किमिति परिपृष्ठे ततनये भवद्भक्तिं वर्याम् अभिगदति पर्याकुलधृतिः.
After that abhigatati, there's a comma, okay?
Oh, okay.
Second
Not
one.
after Varya?
No, not after varyam, after abhigatati.
Okay, ma'am.
अधीतेषु श्रेष्ठं किमिति परिपृष्टे ततनये भवद्भक्तिं वर्यामभिगतति पर्याकुलधृतिः. अधीतेषु श्रेष्ठं किमिति परिपृष्टे ततनये भवद्भक्तिं वर्यामभिगतति पर्याकुलधृतिः.
Gurubhyo roshitva, comma, sahaja matirasyetyya bhividan. So that word you have to say it together. Sahaja matirasyetyya bhividan, comma, Vadopayan asmin, if you want to break it, Vadopayan asmin vyatanuta, comma, Bhavat Pada Sharane. Gurubhyo roshitva sahajamatirasyetyabhividan Vadopayan asmin vyatanuta Bhavat Pada Sharane.
गुरुभ्यो रोषित्वा सहजमतिरस्येत्यभिविदन् वधोपायास्मिन् व्यतनुत भवत्पादशरणे.
Fourth line,
Guru
this is nada. Vadopayan asmin, na.
वधोपायानस्मिन्.
Yeah, you can either say it Vadopayan Asmin together or Vadopayan Asmin. You can break it there if you want.
Okay. गुरुभ्यो रोषित्वा सहजमतिरस्येत्यभिविदन् विदोपायान् अस्मिन् व्यतनुत भवत्पादशरणे.
गुरुभ्यो रोषित्वा सहजमतिरस्येत्यभिविदन् वधोपायानस्मिन् व्यतनुत भवत्पादशरणे. गुरुभ्यो रोषित्वा सहजमतिरस्येत्यभिविदन् वधोपायानस्मिन् व्यतनुत भवत्पादशरणे.
Stanza 7. सशूलैराविद्धः सुबहुमतितो दिग्गजगणैः महासर्पैर्दष्टोऽपि अनशनगराहारविदुतः गिरीन्द्रावक्षिप्तोऽपि अहः परमात्मन्नैभिभो त्वहिन्यस्तात्मत्वात् किमपि न निपीडामभजत. So Hiranyakashipu now decides what are all the ways I can, hurt Prahlada. So to try to get rid of him. So first, Shulai, which means with the trident, right? So they end up trying to kill him by poking him with the tridents. Next, so when he succeeds, then he doesn't die from that. Next, Diggaja Ganaihi. So all the huge elephants which are under which are out of control. So they let the elephants run, and the elephants try to trample him. So even then, nothing happens to Prahlada. Next, Maha Sarpair. So he gets the biggest and the most poisonous of snakes, and then has to have the snakes bite him. So even then, nothing happens. Then Anashana. So kind of he goes for long periods of time without eating. He tried to starve him to death. So even then, nothing happens. Then he starts giving ahara with, he starts giving poisonous food. So trying to poison him with food. Even then, nothing happens. Girindraha, from the top of mountains, he starts throwing him down. Even so, he tries doing all these different ways of getting rid of Prahlada, but absolutely nothing happens, and Prahlada is surviving all of this. So when Hiranyakashipu sees that nothing is happening to him, he actually starts getting worried, because he says, "How is this boy being so powerful? Right? No matter what I do, right, something he's not able to escape." So he figures out that if this boy continues, I am going to end up dying, because he seems to be more powerful than I. Any of these things I do, nothing is happening. So he's then thinking what else can be done to get rid of him. So Sa Shulaira Viddaha, comma, Subahu Matito Diggaja Ganaihi. So put a visarga at the end of that line, comma. Next, on top of that ma, there is a ir that goes away. Maha Sarpair Dashtopi. So you will have a pya, ip and a ya there, right? So we're going to break it up. So Maha Sarpair Dashtopi, comma. Then the next word starts with a a. Anashana Garahara Vidutaha. Sashulhairaviddaha Subahumatito Diggajaganaihi Mahasarpairdashtopi Anashanagaraahara Vidutaha.
सशूलैराविद्धः सुबहुमथितो दिग्गजगणैः महासर्पैर्दोषोऽपि अनशनग अनशनगरा
Anashana
अनशनग
Garahara.
अनशनग ओके अनशनगः अनशनगराहारविधुतः सशूलैराविद्धः सुबहुमदितो दिग्गजगणैः महासर्पैर्दोषैपि
Dashtopi. Dashtopi.
महासर्पैर्धष्टोऽपि अनशनगराहारविदुतः
सशूलैराविद्धः सुबहुमथितो दिग्गजगणैः महासर्पदृष्टोऽपि अनशनगराहारविधुतः. सशूलैराविद्धः सुबहुमथितो दिग्गजगणैः महासर्पदष्टोऽपि अनशनगराहारविधुतः.
On the second line, first word, Mahasarpair. Two ears, Sarpair.
महासर्पैर्दष्टोऽपि
Yeah.
अनशनगराहारविधुतः.
Yeah. Girindra Vakshiptopi. So the same as last previous line, the pya that is there, you put a p first, Vakshiptopi, comma. Next word starts with a a. Ahaha. It's like a great wonder. Ahaha Paramatmannai Vibho, comma. Twai Nyastat Matvat, comma. Kimapi na Nipidam Abhajata. If you want to break it, you can break it that ma. Nipidam Abhajata. गिरीन्द्रावक्षिप्तोऽपि अहः परमात्मन्नै विभो त्वयि न्यस्तात्मत्वात् किमपि न निपीडाम् अभजत.
गिरीन्द्रावक्षिप्तोऽपि अहः परमात्मन्नयि विभो त्वयि नस्त्वा तस्मात् किमपि न निपीडामभजत.
Padma Garu, that Vibho is the end of that line and there is a comma.
Vibho,
Then
comma,
Twayi is the
okay.
next line. Yeah.
गिरीन्द्रावक्षिप्तोऽपि अहः परमात्मन्नयि विभो त्वयि नस्तात्मत्वात् किमपि न निपीडामभजत.
गिरीन्द्रावक्षिप्तोऽपि अहः गिरीन्द्रावक्षिप्तोऽपि अहः परमात्मन्नै विभो त्वयि न्यस्तात्मत्वात् किमपि न निपीडामभजत. गिरीन्द्रावक्षिप्तोऽपि अहः परमात्मन्नै विभो त्वयि परमात्मन्नै विभो त्वयि न्यस्तात्मत्वात् किमपि न निपीडामभजत.
Okay, we'll just switch halfway. So today, Vasanta Garu, you can be a student, and then Sita, you can be a student. Okay.
I'm not able to. I have a cough, terrible cough.
Oh
So-
no problem. Now I'll move you to next class.
Thank you so much.
Lata, you can be a student. Okay.
Sure, Rajesh.
Stanza 8. ततः शङ्काविष्टः स पुनरतिदुष्टोऽस्य जनको गुरूक्त्या तद्गेहे किल वरुणपाशैस्तमरुणत् गुरोश्चासान्निध्ये स पुनरनुगान् दैत्यतनयान् भवद्भक्तेस्तत्त्वं परममपि विज्ञानमशिषत्. So then Hiranyakashipu now doesn't know what to do because he's tried to kill Prahlada in multiple ways and he's not able to get rid of him. So the teachers come and give him an advice. He says that the way you can do here is, first of all, he says you have to make sure this boy doesn't go anywhere and spread the word. So he says you send him back to the school. We are going to tie him with Varuna Pashes. I'm going to tie him with ropes and make sure that he doesn't escape anywhere, and we're going to force feed him the information, right? So they put him back in school and then they tie him and then force feed him the information. However, what happens is every time the teachers actually leave, all the other children who were there, when they used to come to Prahlada, and then their minds were not polluted, they were more open to listening because they were young children, right? 5 and 4 and 5 6 year olds. So Prahlada used to teach them all the knowledge that he has learned from Narada himself, from the womb. So he teaches them all this knowledge about how there is no duality and not to get attached to material senses, and he starts teaching them all of these things, and the boys also end up listening and following to it. So essentially what now happens is that the boys also start listening and start talking exactly what Prahlada is teaching them as well. So tataha is there, first put a ish. Tatash shankavishtaha, comma, sa punarati दुष्टोस्य जनको, गुरूक्त्या तद्गेहे, किल वरुण पाशैस्तमरुणत्. ततः शङ्काविष्टः स पुनरतिदुष्टोऽस्य जनको गुरूक्त्या तद्गेहे किल वरुणपाशैस्तमरुणत्.
ततः शङ्काविष्टः पुनरतिदुष्टोऽस्य जनको गुरूक्त्या तद्गेहे किल वरुणपाशैस्तमरुणत्. ततः शङ्काविष्टः स पुनरतिदुष्टोऽस्य जनको गुरूक्त्या तद्गेहे किल वरुणपाशैस्तमरुणत्.
ततः शङ्काविष्टः स पुनरतिदुष्टोऽस्य जनको गुरुक्त्या तद्गेहे किल वरुणपाशैस्तमरुणत्. ततः शङ्काविष्टः स पुनरतिदुष्टोऽस्य जनको गुरुक्त्या तद्गेहे किल वरुणपाशैस्तमरुणत्.
गुरोश्चासान् निध्ये, comma, sa punaranugan daitya tanayan, comma, bhavat bhaktes tattvam, comma, paramamapi. Next word, vijnanam ashishat, if you want to break it. So anytime I'm breaking it, it's not mandatory that you break it, right? It's only for those who want to break it. You can say it together, vijnanam ashishat, together is also fine. Vijnanam ashishat. And as long as you're saying it fast enough, there will be no difference between either way what you're saying, right? So vijnanam ashishat. गुरोश्चासान्निध्ये स पुनरनुगान् दैत्यतनयान् भवद्भक्तेस्तत्त्वं परममपि विज्ञानमशिषत्.
गुरोच्छासान्निध्ये स पुनरनुगान् दैत्यतनयान् भवद्भक्तेस्तत्त्वं परममपि विज्ञानमशिषत्. गुरोश्चासान्निध्ये स पुनरनुगान् दैत्यतनयान् भवद्भक्तेस्तत्त्वं परममपि विज्ञानमशिषत्.
गुरोश्चासान्निध्ये स पुनरनुगान् दैत्यतनयान् भवद्भक्तेस्तत्त्वं परममपि विज्ञानमशिषत्. गुरोश्चासान्निध्ये स पुनरनुगान् दैत्यतनयान् भवद्भक्तेस्तत्त्वं परममपि विज्ञानमशिषत्.
Stanza 9. पिता शृण्वन् बालप्रकरमखिलं त्वत्स्तुतिपरं रुषान्तः प्राहैनं कुलहतकस्ते बलमिति बलं मे वैकुण्ठः तव च जगतां चापि सबलं सहेव त्रैलोक्यं सकलमिति धीरोऽयमगधीत्. So then all the students and all the other boys in the school also started giving the same messages that Prahlada is giving. So Hiranyakashipu now decides this is it, right? He doesn't know what to do also now. So now this is a very beautiful conversation that happens between Hiranyakashipu and Prahlada. So Hiranyakashipu calls him and says, you know what, I don't know what to do here, right? He says, you are a kula hataha. You are like a, you are an insult to my clan itself, right? You are like a disgrace to my clan. You ended up being born in my this thing. I don't know why, but then essentially everything you're doing is against what we believe in. And then he says, more importantly, he says, kaste bhalamiti. He says, what is the source of your strength? No matter what I do, you are not able to get defeated. I'm not able to get rid of you. So he has a honest conversation. He says, how are you able to get so much strength? Who is the source of your strength? So for that, Prahlada replies, he gives a long lecture, but we just go through the key points. He says, my strength, whoever is the source of my strength, he says, is also the source of your strength. And he says, not only is he the source of mine and your strength, he is also the Trilokyam Sakalamiti of the entire three worlds. Everybody who is there, he is also the source of their strength as well. And without that supreme person, nobody has anything else. And he is the Balame Vaikuntaha, Vaikuntapati, he is my strength. And he's your strength, he's also the strength of everybody, and he's the source of everything else. And anything which is moving, anything which is not moving, even the Lord Brahma from whom you got all your boon, is controlled by this supreme personality. So he is the source of my strength. So he says there's no use trying to fight against this, right? Even your strength is coming from the same person. So he says, leave everything you're doing, and then please go back and devote your mind to the Lord. That's what he goes and gives his advice. And then says, all the three words, sa eva trilokyam sakalamiti, all the three words are him only. It is he who is also the three worlds, not just the strength, but the worlds itself are the same person. So Prahlada gives this advice to his father. So Pita Shrunvan Bala Prakaram Akhilam, Twat Stutiparam, Rushandaha, is there put a F, Rushandaf Prahainam, Kula Hataka Kaste Balamiti. Pita Shrunvan Bala Prakaram Akhilam Twatstutiparam Rushandah Prahainam Kulahataka Kaste Bhalamiti.
Pita Shrunvan Bala Prakaram Twatstutiparam Rushandah Prahainam Kulahataka Kaste Balamiti. Pita Shrunvan Bala Prakaram Twatstutiparam Rushandah Prahainam Kulahataka Kaste Balamiti.
पिता शृण्वन् बालप्रकरमखिलं त्वत्स्तुतिपरं रुषान्दः प्राहैनं कुलहतक कस्ते बलमिति पिता शृण्वन् बालप्रकरमखिलं त्वत्स्तुतिपरं रुषान्दः प्राहैनं कुलहतक कस्ते बलमिति.
அதான் அந்த ருஷாந்த பிராஹேனம், அதுக்கப்புறம் there's a comma, okay, second line.
Okay.
Palam me vaikuntaha, so that is there, put a visarga and a comma, vaikuntaha, tava cha jagatam chapi sa balam, comma, sa eva trilokyam sakalamiti, comma again, dhiroyam agadit, if you want to break it. बलं मे वैकुण्ठः तव च जगतां चापि सबलं सहेव त्रैलोक्यं सकलमिति धीरोऽयमगधीत्.
बलं मे वैकुण्ठः तव च जगतां चापि सबलं स एव त्रैलोक्यं सकलमिति धीरोऽयमगधीत्. बलं मे वैकुण्ठः तव च जगतां चापि सबलं स एव त्रैलोक्यं सकलमिति धीरोऽयमगधीत्.
बलं मे वैकुण्ठः तव च जगतां चापि सबलं स एव त्रैलोक्यं सकलमिति धीरोऽयमगधीत्. बलं मे वैकुण्ठः तव च जगतां चापि सबलं स एव त्रैलोक्यं सकलमिति धीरोऽयमगधीत्.
संचटन अरे क्वासौ सकल जगदात्मा हरिरिति प्रभिन्दे स्म स्तंभं चलितकरवालोदिति सुतः अतः पश्चाद् विष्णो न हि वदितुमीशोऽस्मि सहसा कृपात्मन् विश्वात्मन् पवनपुरवासिन् हृदय माम्. So Hiranyakashipu then responds to that by saying, you keep talking always about the supreme being who is greater than me, the supreme being who is the controller of everything, the supreme being who is everywhere. But he says, I have never seen this person, right? You keep talking about this imaginary person. I've never seen him. I've never seen him in action. In fact, I also went to Vaikuntham looking for him and I could not find him. So he says, where is this person? And he says, if you do not bring that person in front of me right now, then he says, I'm going to take this sword and essentially cut your head off, right? Hiranyakashipu tells Prahlada, there's no more kind of arguing about, this person is great or not. I want to see that person right now, else I'm going to kill you. So with that, he draws his sword out. So Bhattaripat says, Ataf Paschat, O Vishnu, after this, what happens? I am not able to say it at this point. Because remember, Bhattaripat is writing one chapter every day, one Dashakam every day. So at the end of the 24th Dashakam, he says, after this point, I am not able to say what is going to happen today. O Kripatman, O merciful one, Vishwatman, who's who's there in all the words. O Pavana Paravasin, Lord of Guru Ayur, please bless me and eradicate all my ailments. With that, 24th Dashakam comes to an end. Are Kwasau. This Kwasau is the actual word is Kaha Asau. Where is that person? Right? That's what it means. Kwasau means where is he? Where is he? So Are Kwasau, comma, Sakala Jagadatma Haririti, comma, Prabinde Smastambham, comma, Chalita Karavalo Diti Sutaha. अरे क्वासौ सकल जगदात्मा हरिरिति प्रभिन्दे स्म स्तंभं चलितकरवालोदिति सुतः.
अरे क्वासौ सकल जगदात्मा हरिरिति प्रभिम्ते स्म स्तंभं चलितकरवालोदिति सुतः. अरे क्वासौ सकल जगदात्मा हरिरिति प्रभिम्ते स्म स्तंभं चलितकरवालोदिति सुतः.
अरे क्वासौ सकल जगदात्मा हरिरिति प्रभिन्दे स्म स्तंभं चलितकरवालोदिति सुतः. अरे क्वासौ सकल जगदात्मा हरिरिति प्रभिन्दे स्म स्तंभं चलितकरवालोदिति सुतः.
अतः, put a F, अतः पश्चात् विष्णु, comma, नहि वदितुमीशोऽस्मि सहसा, comma, कृपात्मन् विश्वात्मन्, comma, पवनपुरवासिन् मृडय माम्. अतः पश्चाद् विष्णो न हि वदितुमीशोऽस्मि सहसा कृपात्मन् विश्वात्मन् पवनपुरवासिन् हृदय माम्.
अतः पश्चाद्विष्णो न हि वदितुमीशोऽस्मि सहसा कृपात्मन् विश्वात्मन् पवनपुरवासिन् मृडय माम् अतः पश्चाद्विष्णो न हि वदितुमीशोऽस्मि सहसा कृपात्मन् विश्वात्मन् पवनपुरवासिन् मृडय माम्
अतः पश्चाद्विष्णो न हि वदितुमीशोऽस्मि सहसा कृपात्मन् विश्वात्मन् पवनपुरवासिन् मृडय माम् अतः पश्चाद्विष्णो न हि वदितुमीशोऽस्मि सहसा कृपात्मन् विश्वात्मन् पवनपुरवासिन् मृडय माम्.
Shri Krishnaya Parabrahmane Namaha. That completes Dasakam 24. We'll do a couple more stanzas of 25 today. So 25 itself is Narasimha Avatara Varnanam. So the avataram of Narasimha. Stanza 1. स्तंभे घट्टयतो हिरण्यकशिपोः कर्णौ समाचूर्णयन् आगूर्णज्जगदण्डकुण्डकुहरो घोरस्तवा भूद्रवः श्रुत्वायं किल दैत्यराजहृदये पूर्वं कदाप्यश्रुतं कम्पः कश्चन सम्पपात चलितोऽप्यम्बोजभूर्विष्टरात्. So every time I say this stanza, right, I'm reminded of a story, a real incident, right? So when I was learning, this was back in 92, 93, right? When I was a small boy, I was learning. So then there was one Guruji who used to teach us in Bombay. And there was one other old man who was also, we were having the class in our house. And there was many people who used to come. There's one older person, 50, 60, I don't remember. So he was telling how one day he was coming in Chembur market. For those who are familiar with Bombay, at night he was walking, and then some other person, some random person comes and then tells him to give all his money. The real incident that happened. And then so this guy is like a fairly tall guy, and then this person is coming and telling, give me all the money you have late at night. So this person who was talking chanted this stanza, right? So he just imagine in the middle of the road he goes on stambhe gattayato hiranyakashipo karnau samachurnayan. When he chanted, the other person thought this is some priest or somebody who is going to curse me, and then he literally ran away from there. So he always keeps telling us this is a very powerful stanza. Anytime you are afraid of anything, just say this, and the person who's hearing it is going to get afraid and just run away, right? But this is a real incident, by the way, that happened. Anyway, so when Hiranyakashipu is then asking Prahlada that you keep telling, I have not seen this person who you are talking about. Where is this person? Right? And you keep telling he's there everywhere. So if he's there everywhere, then they're standing and having a conversation. There's a pillar right in front of him. So Hiranyakashipu says if he's there everywhere, then he should be there in this pillar as well. So what he does is he takes the sword and then he strikes Ghattayato. He strikes on the stambam, on the pillar. And when he strikes it, at the time, there's a loud roar, a sound that has purvam katapya shrutam. It has never been heard before in this world. Such a loud roar that actually comes. And that loud roar just shakes Hiranyakashipu out, right? Because he has never heard such a sound before. And this, the entire Brahmanda, it says, Jagad Anda Kunda, the entire Andam or the Brahmandam has not heard such a sound before. Such a splitting roar comes out of that. And then that creates a shiver in Hiranyakashipu's mind or heart, which he has not felt, even to the extent that Amboja is the Brahma who has come from the lotus. Even Brahma was shaken from his seat in Satyaloka. That was the amount of sound that actually emanated when he struck that pillar and a roar came out of that pillar. So Stambhe Ghattayato Hiranyakashipoho, Karnau Samachurnayan. Put a in there at the end of that line, comma. Next line you have two nas, it becomes a a. So aghurnaj jagadanda kunda kuharo, comma, ghoras tava bhudravaha. So like I don't know how many of you have been to Narasimha temples itself, right? So there's one in Kerala also, in Chenganur there's a Narasimha temple. So they always coat the Narasimha with chandanam, right? Because of the heat that emanates from the Narasimha, right? So it's always covered to keep it cool. And that's why even after this Dasakam, people drink Panagam is the Nevediyam for this Dasakam to cool your body, because this Dasakam itself is very, very powerful, right? And even you chant some of the slokams and you realize it's very powerful, strong slokams that come out of it. So it's a very, again, very important chapter. So स्तम्भे घट्टयतो हिरण्यकशिपोः कर्णौ समाचूर्णयन् आगूर्णज्जगदण्डकुण्डकुहरो घोरस्तवा भूद्रवः
स्तम्भे घट्टयतो हिरण्यकशिपोः कर्णौ समाचूर्णयन् आघूर्णज्जगदण्डकुण्डकुहरो घोरस्तवा भूद्रवः स्तम्भे घट्टयतो हिरण्यकशिपोः कर्णौ समाचूर्णयन् आघूर्णजगदण्डकुण्डकुहरो घोरस्तवा भूद्रवः
स्तम्भे घट्टयतो हिरण्यकशिपोः कर्णौ समाचूर्णयन् आगूर्णज्जगदण्डकुण्डकुहरो घोरस्तवा भूद्रवः स्तम्भे घट्टयतो हिरण्यकशिपोः कर्णौ समाचूर्णयन् आगूर्णज्जगदण्डकुण्डकुहरो घोरस्तवा भूद्रवः
श्रुत्वा यं किल दैत्यराजहृदये पूर्वं कदाप्यश्रुतं कंपः is there, put a ich sound, कंपः कश्चन संपपात चलितोप्यम्भोजभूर्विष्टरात्. So चलितोप्यम्भोजभूर्विष्टरात्, it's amboja but then it's chalitopi amboja, so it gets joined. श्रुत्वायं किल दैत्यराजहृदये पूर्वं कदाप्यश्रुतं कंपः कश्चन संपपात चलितोप्यम्भोजभूर्विष्टरात्.
श्रुत्वायं किल दैत्यराजहृदये पूर्वं कदाप्यश्रुतं कंपः कश्चन संपपात चलितोप्यम्भोजभूर्विष्टरात् श्रुत्वायं किल दैत्यराजहृदये पूर्वं कदाप्यश्रुतं कंपः कश्चन संपपात चलितोप्यम्भोजभूर्विष्टरात्
श्रुत्वायं किल दैत्यराजहृदये पूर्वं कदाप्यश्रुतं कंपः कश्चन संपात चलितोऽयं भोजभूर्विष्टरात्.
Lata, on the fourth line, sampapata, double pa there, and chalitopyambod.
चलितोऽप्यम्बोज.
Yeah.
श्रुत्वायं किल दैत्यराजहृदये पूर्वं कदाप्यश्रुतं कंपः कश्चन संपात चलितोऽप्यम्भोजभूर्विष्टरात्.
And the fourth line, like you're missing one more, the pa. Kampa kaschana sampapata, comma.
Okay, sampapata. Okay, I somehow said the half pa there.
Yeah. Stanza 2. दैत्ये दिक्षु विसृष्टचक्षुषि महासंभ्रम्भिणि स्तम्भतः सम्भूतं न मृगात्मकं न मनुजाकारं वपुस्ते विभो किं किं भीषणमेतदद्भुतमिति व्युद्भ्रान्तचित्ते सुरे विस्फूर्जद्धवलोग्ररोम विकसत् वर्ष्मा समाजृम्भताः. So now to prove that, so that like in several instances, right, to prove the devotees right, Lord will do whatever it takes. Like he said, if you are a Prahlada, then you can call Narasimha to come. That's what it is, right? So because Prahlada said, yeah, you can, he's there everywhere, you hit it, I'll come from there, right? Or the Lord will come from there when he hits. So the Lord made sure that he was there everywhere. So when no matter where Hiranyakashipu strikes, the Lord has to come out of that. So when he comes, and then Hiranyakashipu then suddenly starts seeing this. He first hears the noise, right? The roar that we saw in the previous stanza. Next, he sees this creature which is actually coming, a form which he has never seen before. So it is a combination of a human and a beast or an animal that actually comes out. And Hiranyakashipu is wondering in excitement. He is little bit, he's amazed, right? Or wondering, what is this that I have not seen before? At the same time, he's Bhishanam. He's also getting terrified looking at this creature which has come out. And then he's looking in amaze, what is this thing that has come out? And whatever has come out now, and the description is going to come in the next two stanzas, so I will talk about it then. But it's a very large sized creature or a person which actually comes out, which has got white sharp hairs, which are bristling hairs, which are actually pointing out of the body. That's what Hiranyakashipu sees, and then he is now beginning to get scared when he looks at it. So Daitye Dikshu Visrushta Chakshushi, comma. So here we are going to put multiple commas because it's going to so that you understand the meaning and when you're saying that, right? Visrushta Chakshushi, comma. Mahasambhrambhini, another comma. So he's extremely angry. Stambhataha is there. Put a is and then join that to the next line. Stambhata Sambhutam and then a comma. So it's coming out of the pillar. So stambhata sambhutam, comma, na mrigatmakam, comma. So it's not an animal. Na manujakaram, not a human either, comma. Vapuste vibho. So, oh, you, O Lord, come in that form, right? Daitye dikshu visrishta chakshushi mahasambhrambhini stambhata sambhutam na mrigatmakam na manujakaram vapuste vibho.
दैत्ये दिक्षु विसृष्टचक्षुषि महासंरम्भिणि स्तम्भतः सम्भूतं न मृगात्मकं न मनुजाकारं वपुस्ते विभो दैत्ये दिक्षु विसृष्टचक्षुषि महासंरम्भिणि स्तम्भतः सम्भूतं न मृगात्मकं न मनुजाकारं वपुस्ते विभो.
Even after na mrigatmakam, there is a comma, okay? So, Santa. Second line, okay.
दैत्ये दिक्षु विसृष्टचक्षुषी महासंरम्भिनी स्तम्भतः सम्भूतं न मृगात्मकं न मनुजाकारं वपुस्ते विभो दैत्ये दिक्षु विसृष्टचक्षुषी महासंरम्भिनी स्तम्भतः सम्भूतं न मृगात्मकं न मनुजाकारं वपुस्ते विभो.
Kim Kim Bhishanam Etat Adbhutamiti. So that word you can break it into a few parts. Bhishanam Etat Adbhutamiti, comma. Vyudbhranta Chitte Sure, comma. Then the fourth line, there's no pause. Vispurjad Dhawalogra Roma Vikasat Varshma Samajrimbhataha. I'll repeat it again. Vispurjat Dhawalogra Roma Vikasat Varshma Samajrimbhataha. Kim
Rajesh,
Kim.
I think you have to tell third and fourth one more time.
Sure, sure. Yep. Kim Kim Bhishanam Etat Adbhutamiti. Etat Adbhutamiti, comma. Vyudbhranta Chitte Sure, comma. Vispurjad Dhawalogra Roma Vikasat Varshma Samajrimbhataha.
Okay, thank you.
Kim Kim Bhishanameta Vyudbhranta Chitte Sure Vispurjad Dhawalogra Roma Vikasat Varshma Samajrimbhataha.
किं किं भीषणमेतदद्भुतमिति विभ्रान्तचित्ते सुरे विस्फूर्जद्धवलोग्ररोम विकसद्वर्ष्मा समाजृम्भथाः किं किं भीषणमे एतदद्भुतमिति विभ्रान्तचित्ते सुरे विस्फूर्जद्धवलोग्ररोम विकसद्वर्ष्मा समाजृम्भथाः
किं किं भीषणमेतत् अद्भुतमिति व्युत्भ्रान्तचित्ते सुरे विस्फूर्जद्धवलोग्ररोम विकसत् वर्ष्मा समाजृम्भतः किं किं भीषणमेतत् अद्भुतमिति व्युत्भ्रान्तचित्ते सुरे विस्फूर्जद्धवलोग्ररोम विकसत् वर्ष्मा समाजृम्भताः.
We'll do one more stanza and we'll stop. Tatta Swarna Savarna Ghurna Dadirukshaksham सठाकेसर प्रोत्कम्प प्रणिकुम्बिताम्बरमहो जीयात्तवेदं वपुः व्याप्तमहादरी सकमुखं खड्गोग्रवल्गन्महाजिह्वा निर्गमदृश्यमानसुमः दंष्ट्रायुगोढामरम्. He says two stanzas, Bhattaripat beautifully describes the form itself. He says that this form of yours, my salutation is to this form of yours, right? And then he goes on to describe. So first he says is, and even Hiranyakashipu is seeing this form and he's trying to understand what is this that is actually standing in front of me, right? So first he starts off by saying that your eyes are, because it's a beast, right, to some extent. So the eyes are rolling and it's like molten gold. It is dark, it's yellow in color, and it is rolling eyes, right, which are kind of in a dark yellow in color. And then it's got a huge mane, because it's also a Nara and Simha, right, combination. So it's got a huge mane which is, you know, massive size that he has not seen, and that is covering up the entire space, as he's, because he's looking up also, he's not looking at this level, he's looking up at the size of this creature which has come. So it's got a huge queering mane which is actually around him, and then the mouth is open as if it's a huge cave that he can actually get into. That's the size of the mouth which is there. And in that, when the mouth is open, then there is a tongue that is actually rolled out, right, which is as like a sword which is ready to cut anything which comes. Like even a frog also has a long thing, but this one is like a massive sized tongue that is there, and also it reveals big molars, right, when the mouth is actually open. So it's a very ugram form of the Lord. And if those of you who've been to Guruvayur, if you, when you're sitting before the before you enter into the inside portion of the temple, they have two beautiful pictures of Narasimha on opposite sides, and like massive sized photo frames form of Narasimha, right? And it's very nice, but it's also very ghoram form of it. So Himnati Bhattacharya is continuing to describe the form that this Hiranyakashipu is seeing, and it is a very fearful form that he's actually seeing, which is standing in front of him. So Tapta Swarna Savarna Ghurna Dhati Rukshaksham, put a comma, Sata Kesara, and then put a plus, Protkampa Prani Kumbitam Aramaho. So that word is together. Prani Kumbitam Bharamaho, comma, Jiyat Tavedam Bapuhu. Tapta Swarna Savarna Ghurna Dhati Rukshaksham Satakesara Protkampa Pranikumbitam Bharamaho Jiyat Tavedam Bapuhu.
सप्तस्वर्ण सवर्ण घूर्ण दतिरूक्षाक्षं सटाकेसर प्रोत्कंप प्रणिकुंबितांबरमहो जियात्तवेदं वपुः तप्तस्वर्ण सवर्ण घूर्ण दतिरूक्षाक्षं सटाकेसर प्रोत्कंप प्रणिकुंबितांबरमहो जियात्तवेदं वपुः
तप्तस्वर्ण सवर्ण गूर्णदधिरुक्षाक्षं सटाकेसर प्रोत्कंप प्रणिकुंबितांबरमहो जियात्तवेदं वपुः तप्तस्वर्ण सवर्ण गूर्णदधिरुक्षाक्षं सटाकेसर प्रोत्कंप प्रणिकुंबितांबरमहो जियात्तवेदं वपुः.
Vyatta, double is it and a ta there. Vyatta, Vyapta, it's ip and a ta, no? Vyapta, Mahadari, Saka Mukham, comma, Kadgogra, Valgan, Maha, and then put a plus, and then you say the next line together. So Kadgogra, Valgan, Maha, Jihwa, Nirgama, Drishyamana, Sumaha, Damshtrayugod Damaram. Because I think each of the words are at least is clearly separatable here in this case. Vyapta Mahadari Sakamukham Kadgogravalgan Maha Jihwa Nirgama Drishyamana Sumaha Damshtrayugod Damaram.
व्याप्त महादरी सखमुखं खड्गोग्रवल्गन् महाजिह्वा निर्गमदृश्यमानसुमहादंष्ट्रायुगोड्डामरम्. व्याप्तव्याप्तमहादरी सखमुखं खड्गोग्रवल्गन् महाजिह्वा निर्गमदृश्यमानसु महादंष्ट्रायुगोड्डामरम्.
Rajesh, first word is half ta and a ta, but next one is half pa and a ta, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Vyakta mahadari sakamukam kadgogravalgan mahajihva nirgama drishyamana sumaha damstara yugod damaram.
Damshtra. Tra.
Tra. Endla vandu ta and a full ra irukku.
But it has to come together. Tra. Damshtra.
Okay, damstra yugo.
Yeah.
Okay. Vyakta mahadari sakamukam kadgogravalgan mahajihva nirgama drishyamana sumaha damstrayugod damaram.
Yeah.
Damstra. Okay.
Yeah, first is da. Damshtra. You go.
Damstra. Okay, I have to practice.
No worries. Okay, good. So we'll stop it here in this class. Shri Krishnaya Parabrahmane Namaha. Sandhanandhavabodhatmakamanupamitam kaladeshavadebhyam nirmuktam nityamuktam nigamashatasahasrena nirbhasyamanam aspashtam drushtamatre punarurpurusharthatmakam brahmatattvam tattavad bhati sakshat gurupavanapure hanta bhagyam jananam kahena vacha manasendriyirva buddhyatmana va prakrute स्वभावात् करोमि यत् सकलं परस्मै नारायणायेति समर्पयामि. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Ji.
Thank you.
We have
Thank you,
class
Rajesh.
next week,
Bye.
right?
Yeah,
Thank
we
you.
have class next week. Sunday, so we'll have class.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
so much.
Rajesh.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.